Robert Griffin III is already treating Shedeur Sanders like Cleveland's last hope, even though he hasn't even been chosen yet. RG3 went off course, and right to the point when he publicly insisted that Sanders start the next game because the Browns were in a tailspin and the quarterback situation had reached a critical mass. Not anytime soon. Right now, the response? Uncomfortable silence from the front office, predictable indignation, and whirling drama. This is about a franchise stuck in a cycle of safe picks and stale decisions, not just a daring viewpoint.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Flacco Joe, exhausted but seasoned. Dylan Gabriel, young, but not what the time calls for. Additionally, RG3 has had enough as the Browns alternate between options that seem more and more removed from what the team truly needs. He's calling it. Everyone acting like Shedeur isn't ready is just trying to boost their egos. The pattern is visible. The Browns are in serious trouble. Their chemistry has stagnated, their confidence has plummeted, and their coaching choices appear to be more random than calculated. However, management is engaging in politics rather than pursuing the one individual who could truly ignite the team. Draft hierarchy, public relations optics, all the typical justifications that keep franchises in a rut. Sanders sits in the interim, observing, awaiting. Additionally, RG3 claims that he is wasting time that could be used to save the season. The most outrageous part? Shedeur is not a wild card game. He embodies a vitality, self-assurance, and faith that this locker room is lacking. Those intangibles that have profound impact on a team's performance, but are not visible on stat sheets. Flacco doesn't bring urgency, but he might bring veteran cool. One day, Gabriel might be the future, but Shedeur, he has the appearance of the present, the person who can use a single drive to repair a broken huddle. This take was not dropped by RG3 for shock value. Someone had to say it, so he dropped it. Because it's not just annoying to watch this team fail while the solution remains undiscovered on the bench. It's self-inflicted failure. Cleveland delves deeper into its own dysfunction each week that goes by without Shedeur starting. There's only one move left if winning is the goal. RG3 just said it aloud. Not suggested. Not implied. Demanded. And that one demand lit up every football show, comment section, and group chat from here to Canton. But let's not pretend this came out of nowhere. This wasn't just RG3 playing pundit. This was a breaking point. A moment of frustration boiled over into a full-on public call-out of Cleveland's entire quarterback situation. And more importantly, the front office's bizarre refusal to act. Because right now, the Browns are spiraling. The offense looks lifeless. The team is stuck in some purgatory between pretending everything's fine and clearly knowing it's not. And the quarterback room? It's a mess. You've got Dylan Gabriel, who hasn't proven he can command the field, and Joe Flacco, a veteran in body but not exactly in impact. So when RG3 stood up and said what so many have been thinking, that Shedeur Sanders should start, he wasn't just lighting a match. He was calling out the franchise's fear. He was pointing to a solution sitting right in front of them and saying, why are you pretending this isn't the answer? Because Shedeur isn't just a rookie. He's the rookie. The one people are already watching. The one who walks like a starter, talks like a starter, and frankly, carries more energy than the entire current offense combined. And RG3 sees it. He sees a Browns team that's dying for belief, for momentum, for any sign of leadership on that field. And Shedeur, he's got it. The problem isn't whether Shedeur can play. It's whether Cleveland has the guts to admit he should. Because right now, everything about the Browns situation reeks of pride and paralysis. They're clinging to decisions that aren't working, quarterbacks who aren't inspiring, and systems that are clearly broken. All because they don't want to admit a rookie might be the best option. But here's what RG3 made painfully clear. The Browns need that rookie. Not eventually. Not next season. Now, this is a franchise that's lost its identity on offense. The rhythm is off. The confidence is gone. And the play calling feels more like damage control than game-winning strategy. There's no fire, no heartbeat, just repetition and regression. That's the cost of waiting too long. to make the right call. And it's not like Shedeur will be walking into chaos. He is a potential order. He's the energy. He's the guy players could rally behind. His leadership, his poise, and the way he carries himself, that's what quarterbacks are supposed to bring. And it's exactly what this team is missing. RG3's words weren't just passionate. They were desperate. He's watching Cleveland implode, and he's watching the answer warm the bench. It's not hard to see the pattern. The Browns have a history of letting quarterback decisions ruin otherwise promising seasons. They wait. They hope things magically improve. They try to justify decisions with politics and draft strategy instead of performance and chemistry. And in the process, they kill their own momentum. That's what RG3 was trying to break through. He's done waiting for the Browns to figure it out. He's done pretending like loyalty to underwhelming quarterbacks is some noble cause. The moment demands something better, something braver. That something is Shedeur Sanders. And look, even RG3 isn't pretending Sanders is perfect. He's going to make rookie mistakes. He's going to have learning curves. But what he brings, the energy, the presence, the belief, is worth every bump along the way. Because right now, the Browns have no direction. They're not just losing games. They're losing purpose. And Shedeur? He's not just a quarterback. He's a reset button. RG3 pointed to that bigger truth. That football isn't just about schemes and stats. It's about belief, about who your guys trust, about who makes the team walk onto the field and feel like they've already won. And Shedeur has that. Dillon Gabriel doesn't. Joe Flacco can't fake it anymore. But Sanders? His teammates notice when he speaks. He shifts the tone of the locker room just by showing up. That's the type of leadership that can turn a season around. Not because it guarantees wins, but because it gives the team something they've clearly been missing, a reason to care again. But Cleveland's front office? They're still stuck in the weeds. Draft positions, reputations, and contracts clouding their judgment. They're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And when you do that, you always lose anyway. RG3 knows that. He's been in those locker rooms. He's lived through the politics. And that's why his call wasn't some media gimmick. It was a wake-up call. Shedeur isn't the flashy gamble. He's the obvious choice. A quarterback who's proven he can carry pressure. A player who believes in himself when no one else will. A guy who walks into the chaos and says, "Give me the ball." And Cleveland's still hesitating, still dragging their feet, still waiting for some perfect, risk-free moment that will never come. But that's the thing about leadership. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be right. And RG3 made it crystal clear. Delaying Shedeur's start doesn't protect the team. It hurts it. It extends the suffering. It stalls the rebuild. It sends a message that performance doesn't matter as much as seniority. And that message, it kills belief faster than any losing streak ever could. Players know when a guy deserves the job. They can feel it. They see it in practice. They hear it in the huddle. If Shedeur is the one getting them fired up, and the coaches still choose someone else, that's how you lose the locker room. Quietly, permanently. And once you lose that, you're not just fighting for games. You're fighting for the soul of your team. RG3 isn't just advocating for Sanders. He's advocating for a culture shift, a move away from politics and toward purpose, a decision that says, we believe in our future and we're not afraid to embrace it. Because guess what? This team isn't that far off. The defense is strong. The talent's there. But the offense needs a pulse. It needs identity. And Shedeur is the one player who can bring that instantly. Delaying his debut doesn't save the team. It buries it. And when that moment finally comes, when the Browns inevitably put Shedeur in because nothing else works, it won't be a revelation. It'll be a, what took you so long moment? Because by then, the damage might already be done. This is a decision that defines franchises. The pivot point, the moment where you either step forward or slide backward. And RG3 is yelling from the sidelines, make the move before it's too late. Because when Shedeur starts, and he will start, everything changes. The energy, the locker room, the fans, the entire field of franchise shifts. Because that's what real leadership does. It doesn't wait. It acts. So here's the truth. Shedeur Sanders is ready. The Browns are not. And RG3 just called him out for it. Now, all eyes are on Cleveland. They've got a choice to make. Keep clinging to what's not working. Or finally, let go and give this team the leader it deserves. What's it going to be? Let us know what you think in the comments. Should the Browns give Shedeur Sanders the keys now? Or keep waiting until it's too late? And if you want more unfiltered breakdowns, sports chaos, and the loudest voices calling out the quiet part, make sure you're subscribed. Because this is just getting started. Because every delay, every excuse, every safe, PR-friendly quote about development timelines and trust and process is just more wasted time. This isn't about trusting the process anymore. It's about trusting the player. And RG3 trusts him. Loudly, publicly, passionately, because he sees what this franchise refuses to admit. Shedeur Sanders is the best option on this roster right now. Not tomorrow. Not next season. Not once he's ready. Now. So Browns front office, if you're listening, stop making this harder than it needs to be. The team is tired. The fans are tired. And you're sitting on the one person who might be able to wake the whole place up. Start Shedeur. Let the kid cook. Give him the keys before there's nothing left to save. Because this moment, the one you're trying to delay, isn't going away. It's only getting louder. And RG3, he's just the first voice in a chorus that's about to get a whole lot louder. What kind of team does Cleveland want to be? One that takes chances when it matters? One that bets on energy, belief, and momentum? Or one that folds into the same safe patterns that have haunted this franchise for decades? Right now, they're acting like the latter. And RG3 had the nerve, the audacity, to say what everyone in the building is probably thinking but too afraid to admit out loud. Keeping Shedeur Sanders off the field is self-sabotage. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's malpractice. And the wildest part? The path forward is crystal clear. No one's asking the Browns to dig their way out of some impossible hole. No one's saying they need to overhaul the playbook, the roster, or the coaching staff overnight. All they have to do is stop getting in their own way. Give the kid the shot. The one he's earned. The one everyone, from former players to locker room insiders, knows is inevitable. And yet they stall. Why? Because when you start Shedeur Sanders, you're not just starting a quarterback. You're admitting the old plan failed. You're calling out the front office's draft decisions. You're shaking up a depth chart that's been calcified by pride. And that, apparently, is scarier than losing football games. But here's what RG3 forced into conversation. Every game they play without Shedeur as QB1 is another brick in the wall of failure. Another opportunity for the season to slip away. Another reason for fans to check out, for players to lose trust, for Cleveland to return to what it's always been, a team with potential, wasting time. RG3 isn't rooting for chaos. He's begging for clarity. He wants to see a team recognize a window when it's open and walk through it. That window? It's now. It's wide open. But the Browns seem more interested in drawing the curtains and waiting until it slams shut before they act. And the consequences of that hesitation? You can already feel them creeping in. Look at the body language on the sidelines. Look at the frustration on the field. Watch how defensive players are constantly bailing out the offense, only to watch their hard work get wasted by a 3-and-out and a bad throw on third down. There's no synergy, no flow, no urgency. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is standing on the sideline, helmet on, ready, focused, engaged, just waiting for his name to be called. And you'd think, with the offense crawling and fan support waning, that moment would have come already. But no, they're still trying to squeeze juice out of quarterbacks who don't move the needle, still pretending like experience somehow outweighs inspiration. And that's the trap. That's what RG3 was railing against. Because experience means nothing if no one believes in you. If the huddle doesn't light up when you speak. If the offense doesn't shift gears when you take the field. The quarterback is the emotional thermostat of a football team. And right now, Cleveland is cold. Shedeur, he brings heat. He brings that edge. That walk tall, talk loud, rally the locker room kind of energy that every good team eventually has to lean on. And you can bet the veterans feel it too. Sure, they won't say it out loud in pressers. They'll play the loyalty card, talk about team unity, say all the right things. But they see how different the vibe is when Shedeur runs the second team in practice. They see how he handles pressure, how he corrects mistakes, how he carries himself like the guy. And if the front office thinks those players are fine with watching winnable games slip away because they won't make the obvious switch, they're delusional. Because nothing divides a locker room faster than bad quarterback decisions. Nothing drains morale quicker than watching your season collapse because the coaches won't admit they're wrong. And that's the danger here. Not just losing games, but losing belief. RG3 saw that. That's why he went so hard. This wasn't about boosting Shedeur's stock. It was about saving a team that's clearly circling the drain and pretending everything's fine. The Browns have been through every version of quarterback chaos you can imagine, from overhyped first-rounders to washed-up vets to temporary rentals and emergency backups. You name it, they've tried it. And what do they have to show for it? A fan base exhausted, a locker room drained, a culture that keeps resetting every year like clockwork. But Shedeur Sanders represents a clean break from that pattern, not just because of his skill set, but because of his impact, the belief he brings, the confidence he exudes, the swagger that infects everyone around him. He's not just another quarterback. He's the kind of player you build around. And delaying his debut isn't cautious. It's cowardly. Cleveland is acting like they have time, like they can afford to let the season play out. But when your offense is flatlining and your playoff hopes are on life support, time is the one thing you don't have. Every game they waste is another game Shedeur could have been learning, leading, building something. But instead, he's a passenger, while the veterans ahead of him steer the bus off a cliff. RG3 just said what needed to be said. It's time to hand over the keys. And maybe it won't be perfect. Maybe Shedeur makes a few rookie errors, misses a couple reads, throws a pick. But so what? That's growth. That's experience. That's real football. What matters is what he brings between those mistakes. The energy, the composure, the we're not losing today attitude. Because that's what the Browns are missing. Not a better passer, a better presence. And look, no one's saying Shedeur will walk in and win every game. But at least the team will have something to believe in, a direction, a reason to fight, a chance to build chemistry, to grow together, to finally escape the purgatory they've been stuck in for years. And that chance, it's fading every week they leave him benched. RG3 made it clear. This isn't debate about potential anymore. It's a matter of urgency. The Browns are teetering on the edge, and they can either step up and let Shedeur lead them out, or they can keep pretending their veterans have been turned around and watch the season fade into another wasted year. And when that happens, when Shedeur does eventually start, it won't be because the team was proactive. It'll be because they had no other choice. And that moment, it'll be soaked in regret. Because everyone, from RG3 to fans and the nosebleeds, will know this didn't have to go this way. They had the answer. They just refused to use it. So the question now is simple. How much longer can Cleveland keep pretending Shedeur Sanders isn't the future? The silence from Cleveland right now? Deafening. After RG3's eruption, you'd expect some kind of response. A coach brushing it off. A vague quote about competition at every position. Maybe even a classic, "We like where we are," line from front office. But instead, crickets. And that silence, it says everything. It tells you they know RG3 struck a nerve. That his rant wasn't just loud, it was true. And everyone inside that building is scrambling to avoid the spotlight that's suddenly 10 times brighter. Because when you've got a respected former quarterback publicly questioning your decisions, and fans nodding along in agreement, you don't just have a quarterback controversy. You have an organizational crisis. And at the heart of it all, Shedeur Sanders, the rookie they're treating like a long-term project, when he might be the short-term solution. The fact that this is even up for debate tells you everything about where this franchise is mentally. They're still stuck thinking in terms of safe bets and PR optics, while the season is actively slipping through their fingers. But RG3 forced a conversation they didn't want to have. He didn't ask, could Shedeur maybe help? He declared, start him. Now. And that level of conviction doesn't come from guesswork. It comes from watching a team that's clearly broken and seeing the one player who could hold it together being ignored. Let's just be brutally honest. Dillon Gabriel is not the answer. Joe Flacco is not the future. This is not a stable quarterback room. This is duct tape over a cracked foundation. And anyone pretending otherwise is more invested in protecting egos than protecting wins. The truth is, the Browns look like a team that's afraid to admit it got it wrong. But delaying the Shedeur era won't make that fear go away. It'll just make the losses pile up and make the fans even more restless. That locker room is not dumb. They know what's going on. Football players can sense momentum or the lack of it. And right now, the Browns have none. No momentum, no juice. Just a heavy fog of indecision and stale play calling. And that's exactly why RG3's words hit like a slap. Because he wasn't just giving hot takes. He was speaking from experience. He knows what it's like to be a young quarterback with expectations. He knows the pressure, the politics, the frustration of watching teams hesitate to believe in someone who's clearly ready. And if he's willing to put his name and credibility on the line for Shedeur, that should mean something. That should matter. But instead, the Browns are retreating into the same old pattern. Waiting, hesitating, losing. And for what? To prove a point? To avoid the headlines? To protect a draft board that's already in shambles? You can't build culture on cowardice. You can't rally a team behind a plan that clearly isn't working. And you definitely can't expect fans to keep showing up when your best chance at turning things around is sitting there with a headset and a clipboard while the offense goes 3 and out again. It's getting hard to defend, hard to explain, hard to justify. So now we're at the tipping point. Either Cleveland rips the bandage off and gives Shedeur Sanders the keys before the season is dead in the water, or they keep pretending this quarterback roulette will somehow land on something better than the obvious answer right in front of them. That's what makes this moment so critical. It's not just about week X or game Y. It's about what the team chooses to stand for. And right now, the fans are choosing Shedeur. Former players are choosing Shedeur. Everyone with eyes and a basic understanding of urgency is choosing Shedeur. So what's the holdup? What's the fear? Because the longer they delay, the louder this gets. And when the inevitable happens, when Shedeur finally starts and this team starts moving with actual purpose, every single person who fought against it will have to answer for why it took this long. And that answer? It better be good. Because right now, the only thing worse than losing is losing when you already had the fix in your hands and refuse to use it. So go ahead, Cleveland. Keep stalling. Keep running the same offense with the same quarterbacks and wondering why the scoreboard doesn't change. Or take the leap you should have taken already and let the guy who's already got the fans, the locker room, and now even NFL legends behind him lead your team like he was meant to. Start Shedeur Sanders before this season becomes just another footnote in the Browns' long, painful history of what could have been. And if you're as fired up about this as we are, hit the comments. Should Shedeur start now, or is Cleveland still in denial? Subscribe for more raw takes, football chaos, and the stories the league doesn't want you to think about. Trust us, the drama's only just beginning.